Specifically, I want to explain how sports science can help horses reach their genetic potential by using a range of testing and training strategies and the associated technology. I'll also briefly explain the importance of effective horse tech translation and how the establishment of collaborative teams can open the door for further horse tech investment. Explaining or translating how sports science and tech can help horses is a very important challenge. We need to translate how we can benefit the horse's health, welfare and performance. The horse tech conferences are attracting a larger audience via the live streaming, and we now have an opportunity to translate the benefits to key stakeholders, participants in all equine disciplines, the wider community and potential investors. Our company, Equalytics Proprietary Limited, is focused on helping owners and trainers with three major challenges. Number one is talent identification, which assesses whether horses are sprinters, middle distance or stayers. Two, performance optimisation, which focuses on what can be done to help horses perform better during competition. And three, injury prevention, which looks at training and racing strategies that can help reduce injuries. Let's have a closer look at the first area of sports science called talent identification, which assesses each horse's anaerobic capacity or speed and aerobic capacity or stamina. We use a standardised track and e-tracker equipment for the anaerobic assessments and a high-speed treadmill, polar heart rate meter and lactate pro analyzer for the aerobic assessments. After they've been performance profiled on the treadmill and track, horses receive a score out of 10 for each energy system. This generates an important performance ratio, example 7-9-7, which means 9 for speed and 7 for stamina. Champions possess performance ratios of 10-10 as they have high speed and can carry that speed for distance, which places them in the most elite category. These scores out of 10 are based on several key performance metrics which relate to successful performances on the track. Here are some of the examples of the metrics that we use to generate the performance ratios. Peak speed, which is the highest speed recorded during a workout. S200 is the fastest 200 metre sectional recorded during any stage of a workout. These provide insights into the horse's anaerobic or speed capacity. V200, the velocity at a heart rate of 200 beats per minute, excuse me, and VLA4, the velocity at a lactate concentration of 4 millimoles, are metrics reflecting aerobic capacity or stamina. This is a slide showing how you calculate V200. We usually use 4 3-minute test intervals to generate the heart rate slope. We cut the heart rate at 200 beats per minute and come down to the x-axis, and you'll see in this case the horse has a V200 of 23 kilometres per hour. Likewise, when the lactate curve, again done with 3 different intervals, or 4 different intervals of 3 minutes, we dissect the curve at 4 millimoles, and this horse has a VLA4 of 25.5. So the generated performance ratios show whether the horse is a sprinter, middle distance or stayer, and they also provide an indication of class. A 9-7 is a quality sprinter, a 7-9 a quality stayer, 8-8 is a good middle distance horse. A horse rated 6-6 is less capable and will have to race in the lower grades to be competitive. 5-10 would be a high-class endurance horse. These performance ratios allow owners and trainers to obtain a clear insight into the internal physiological characteristics of their horses. This is just an example of how to translate the performance ratios to trainers and owners. The most effective way is to present the data visually. By plotting the aerobic and anaerobic ratios, you can clearly see the status of the whole stable. If you were the trainer of these horses, it will not take you long to start using this data, because what you see on the graph matches up very closely with what we see on the track. So the outcomes of talent identification are quite powerful. In summary, performance profiling and performance ratios provide trainers with early insights into the type and class of athlete, the type of training regime to prescribe, and the ideal race distance and tactics to use during competition. By knowing this information early, horses can be managed more effectively. Let's take a look at some of the tech we use to capture the required metrics. This is the E-Tracker blanket, which goes under the saddle. The red pads here go on the horse to pick up heart rate. The antenna picks up the global GPS satellites that track the horse's movement and location. The E-Tracker measures speed, heart rate, and calculates stride length at 50 kilometres per hour, referred to as SL50. This is the Lactate Pro, which is used to analyse blood lactate in the field. Only a small drop of blood is required for assessment, and the result is presented in 60 seconds. Blood lactate is the only parameter that can provide an insight into the capacity of both the aerobic and anaerobic systems. For this reason, it is one of our key performance metrics. The Catapult S5 GPS heart rate equipment is used by many elite sporting teams around the world to optimise performance and reduce injury. It has an accelerometer, magnetometer and gyroscope to produce a range of important metrics. One of the impressive aspects is that it produces a single number for training load, which is representative of the total stress encountered during the whole workout. The other important aspect is that it streams data in real time back to a computer in the grandstand, which you'll see later on is a game changer for horses. The VX Sport company has a similar product. This is the vest that's used for human athletes, but we use the strap at the bottom and simply attach it to the girth, and there's a small compartment at the back of the saddle to place the small transmitter to pick up the data. So this is a receiver, transmitter and the girth strap. The VX350 is also used by many sporting teams around the world to help achieve their training objectives, and these GPS heart rate systems need to find their way into the equine industry to help with performance optimisation and injury prevention. I've been test running the S5 and the VX350 with horses during the last 6 months, and the live data streaming is outstanding from a potential injury management viewpoint. For example, if you know that a horse generally has a trot heart rate of 110 beats per minute while warming up at 15 kilometres per hour, and then one day heart rates come streaming through at 130 plus during the warm-up, then you know something is potentially wrong, the workout can be stopped, and the problem looked at by the stable vet. The benefits of plotting training load are also considerable. You can see what training loads produce winning performances for individual horses, what loads are typically associated with reducing shin soreness in 2-year-olds, and whether training regimes are balanced according to the major principles of exercise prescription. Let's have a look at some of the performance graphs that we use. This is an E-Tracker trace of a fit horse. The blue line is velocity, and here you can see the horse walking out to the track. It completes a 15 km/h warm-up that leads into the main piece of exercise. We then have a slowing down of the velocity and returning back to the stable. The red line is heart rate, one of the main indicators of training stress. This horse has a relatively low heart rate, between 100 and 110 beats per minute, a nice controlled heart rate response to the increasing workload, a peak speed of 64 km/h, and an excellent recovery with a drop back to around 100 beats per minute in 3 minutes. Basically, the closer these red and blue lines are together, the more elite the athlete. Let's see the differences in a trace from an unfit horse. Here we see an extremely high trot heart rate, early heart rates for only moderate work, an early max heart rate of 224 beats a minute, a low peak speed of around 60 k's an hour, and an extended poor recovery. The red and blue lines are certainly not close together. This horse is a long way off fit, and it leads me to the point that an e-tracker trace taken 2 to 3 days before a race will let the trainer know if the horse is well and ready for competition. This trace belongs to a world-class sprinter. The main feature that I'll draw your attention to here is the high peak speed of 68 km per hour. This horse had raced well up to 1600 metres at the elite level in Australia, but his e-tracker traces showing peak speeds between 68 and 72 km per hour encouraged the trainer to enter the horse in shorter races. He subsequently won the Lightning and Newmarket, two big sprint races in Australia. He was then offered the opportunity to compete on the world stage at Royal Ascot in England. He subsequently won the King's Stand and provided his trainer and owners with an outstanding experience. The skill of the trainer, combined with the e-tracker tech, helped achieve such positive outcomes. Lactate curves can also be used for testing and training purposes. The green curves are associated with horses that are improving their fitness. The blue curves are fit horses, and the red curves belong to two champion harness racing horses. During my PhD, I had the opportunity to performance profile a champion Australian pacer while he was race fit. His is the higher of these two red curves, and he'd won over $2 million in prize money. About 3 months after obtaining this data, another trainer requested I profile a horse that he'd purchased in New Zealand. To my surprise, the curve sat on top of the champion horse over here in the high test velocities. And this was not expected, as the champion horse was one in a decade type horse and such an elite animal. The blood tests were reanalysed and were accurate. The data declared that the new horse must also be a champion. He subsequently went on to win an Inter-Dominion, Australia and New Zealand's most prestigious and elite harness racing. So lactate curves can likewise identify champions. These curves are associated with young 2-year-old thoroughbreds early in a racing season. The blue curve belongs to a 2-year-old with a very high aerobic capacity, and you can see he's much higher VLA4 compared to the other 2-year-olds. This horse went on to win a 3200 metre race later in life. So you can determine if a 2-year-old has the required aerobic capacity or stamina to eventually be competitive in longer 24 to 3200 metre races. This type of profiling is also ideal for talent identification of endurance horses and can be completed as yearlings or early 2-year-olds. The second area of sports science work that helps produce more winners is called performance optimisation. I'll briefly present 3 strategies which can help optimise a horse's performance. Strategy 1 is to start early. The earlier you start collecting relevant data in the talent ID process, the more beneficial for the horse. This slide shows that even profiling standardbred yearlings on the track at the end of their second phase of breaking in provides valuable data. These 2 yearlings completed 2 1600 metre intervals, 5 minutes apart. The test velocities were 39 and 36 seconds per 400 metres, as highlighted by the red dots. The associated lactates were extrapolated up to 30 millimoles and come down to the x-axis. It's clear to see that the green trace is the superior of the 2. This horse went on to win 24 races, whereas the blue horse did not win a single race. Now, Japanese research also indicates that there's a window of opportunity to develop bone density and the left ventricle of the heart in these young horses. So implementing sports science strategies early can help optimise a horse's future performance capacity. Strategy 2 for optimising performance relates to the stable implementing a talent ID program and then using the performance ratios to help make accurate training and racing decisions. It has become quite clear over the years that trainers who make decisions based on the information provided by the performance ratios manage their horses more effectively. Their training regimes are more individualised, the ideal race distance is accurately selected, and the effective race tactics are identified. This approach optimises each horse's performance and produces more winning outcomes. Strategy 3 relates to monitoring and balancing training. The prescribed training volumes and intensities, they need to be graphed to see if the actual training program is following the accepted principles of exercise prescription and periodisation of training. During the preparatory phase over here, we have a main focus on volume, which is progressively increased, while intensity stays relatively low. In the specific preparatory phase, volume continues to increase but at a slower pace, while the focus moves to the increasing training intensity. During the pre-competitive phase, the training intensity continues to increase up to race level intensities, and we can see we have to have a drop in volume to avoid potential overtraining. The red columns are the weeks when our monthly lactate profiles were completed. We then had 2 weeks of trials and then off into the racing program. So this is a balanced training program which produces winners, and trainers need to sort of graph their results to see if it looks similar to this type of pattern. The last area of the sport science work is injury prevention. And this is very important. We need to look at 3 strategies that could help out. And this is coming back to the heart rate and GPS systems. Strategy 1 is to collect live data for real-time analysis. Warm-ups and workouts can be modified or stopped while they are in progress using the data from live S5 or VX350 streaming. It is also possible with what is known as connected coaching to provide instructions to drivers or jockeys via an earpiece in their skull cap or helmets. This proactive approach using real-time analysis and connected coaching is in operation with human athletes and has real merit within the horse industry for the prevention of injuries. With 500 kilogram horses running up to speeds of 70 kilometres an hour, we need new injury management strategies. Real-time analysis is one with outstanding potential. The second area refers to a new concept we've been using called the acute-chronic ratio. The calculation is where we take the average prescribed training load for this upcoming week and compare it to the previous 4 weeks of training. The ideal acute to chronic ratio is between 0.8 and 1.2. Ratios above 1.5, however, increase the chance of injury. It is obvious that very high training loads could potentially increase injury, but what is less known is that undertraining, where with a ratio of less than 0.8, is now considered a potential risk, basically because the horse has not been trained enough at the high loads that will be encountered during competition. Another injury prevention strategy is to take a strength and conditioning approach like we do with human athletes, strengthening muscles, ligaments and tendons with cross-training, where different types of training and venues are included in the training schedule, is highly recommended. These types of training will strengthen power but decrease the amount of high-impact forces associated with fast track work. For example, incline treadmill work will take the pressure off the front legs, as will hill work. Leading a horse from another horse or from a quad bike removes the weight of the rider, and beach work or work in heavy sand is frequently used by Australian trainers to develop strength and fitness while at the same time reducing the high impact forces. Another way to reduce load is with swimming, which can play a role in developing strong intercostal muscles related to breathing because of the pressure of the water. One innovative and elite trainer discussed his intention to put in a pool I suggest that you think about the concept of high-intensity straight-line swimming, where the speeds are faster, allowing the horse to stretch out and develop heart and lung capacity. This is what we came up with. We knew the water table was low on this part of the property, so a paddock was excavated with heavy machinery to produce a 60 metre by 20 metre swimming pool, or dam. The pontoon was built and anchored at either end, and a safe and effective swimming pool was created. The pool is used for recovery purposes after races or hard workouts, and to help develop the horse's cardiorespiratory system. The horses learn the system within a few attempts, and it then becomes a part of their training regime. Now, although racing is considered to be traditional and slow to change, there are innovative trainers out there who are embracing sports science, putting in treadmills and pools, aqua walkers, heavy sand tracks, and using e-trackers and GPS heart rate systems along with portable lactate monitors to develop better training programs for the horses. It is not unexpected that these trainers are winning many of the major races. When the benefits are translated clearly to trainers and owners, they are keen to implement horse tech that contributes to performance optimisation and injury prevention. All the data that is collected from the tech associated with sports science is stored in our Equalytics platform, which is a customisable athlete management system. The platform is powered by Smartabase, one of the world's leading software applications with the capacity for high-powered analytics and predictive modelling. The data from a range of wearables can be transferred into the Equalytics platform via APIs or CSV files, and then the data can be integrated and used for predictive analysis. The insights are then visually presented to trainers and owners using customisable dashboards which present the key benchmarks and performance metrics. This allows data-driven decisions to be made by trainers and owners regarding selection, training and competition. The future looks something like this from an Equalytics point of view. More wearables will become available and their data live streamed into the Equalytics platform. The Equalytics platform will focus on data integration and automation of analysis using the powers of artificial intelligence. The insights and instructions will be relayed to jockeys and drivers in real time with connected coaching techniques. This approach will have a positive impact on performance optimisation and injury prevention when achieved in the near future. If you have an interest in wearables or sensor tech, data integration or automation of analysis,